This young man is Tiao Xuan. During a mission, he was severely injured to the point of lying on the bed, barely clinging to life. Tragically, before he died, the 5 disciples he had devoted himself to nurturing betrayed him and took all his treasures. Fortunately, there was still the female servant he had bought earlier, who remained loyal and stayed by his side until the end. Knowing that he didn't have much time left, she continued to cry and plead with him to accept her as his disciple. However, he knew that accepting her as a disciple at this moment would only lead her to her death, so he could only regretfully let go. Just when he thought he was about to die, the system appeared. It recognized the sincerity of both him and the female servant, activating the master-disciple system. This system could help him recover by rewarding his disciple or transmitting cultivation. Even when the disciple comprehended a skill or something, it would be passed back to him. Thus, he began his decisive journey of slaughter step by step to become the immortal emperor. Without further ado, let's get into the story. The scene opens in a wooden house where a scroll with the words, "Wishing Master Longevity," hangs above, gifted by a disciple. Below it lies Tiao Xuan, our male protagonist, gasping on the bed, surrounded by 5 disciples watching, and the loyal female servant kneeling on the floor, crying. Junot wiped her tears and called out loudly, "Elder Xiao." In contrast to the sobbing female servant, the 5th disciple, Lai Sun, turned to the 1st disciple, Yeqiu Han, and urgently asked, "Senior brother master is about to be in trouble. What should we do now?" Li Thuhan calmly replied, "What should we do? Of course we should find another elder to take as our master. Are we supposed to stay here and mourn for him, Miu?" The 3rd disciple. Wu Feng shook his head in frustration. A bunch of useless trash getting injured like this while on a mission is a waste of my time. The 2nd disciple. Lin Hao Ran remained silent, but was filled with schemes, thinking, unless I can obtain his secret technique, how could this old man die so easily? The 4th disciple, Wang Feng, lightly patted Li Shan's shoulder and smirked, saying, "Dying would be good. I wanted to leave long ago. Whoever wants to keep this old monk can do so. I want to go pay my respects to the 2nd elder who has the most female disciples." Hearing the outrageous words of the disciples, Jinwo was filled with indignation and shouted, "Damn it!" She stood up, pointed directly at the group of ungrateful disciples and yelled, "If it weren't for Elder Xiao, none of you would even be able to step through the door to cultivate. And now you're afraid that you'll end up as nothing but a pile of bones. You are nothing but a bunch of ungrateful beasts." Upon hearing her insults, the disciples were furious but did nothing. Wu Feng cracked his knuckles, stepped forward, and slapped her across the face, causing her to fall to the ground, laughing mockingly. "Ah, I really gave you some face." His eyes revealed a hint of killing intent. "What rank do you think you are to speak to me like that?" At this moment, Yeqiu Han interjected. "Lao Shan, what's there to say about a useless person like her? If she wants to stay, let her stay." He reached for a bottle of elixir on the table and added, "After all, we've already cleaned up everything that belonged to that useless person." After that, all 5 of them carried a pile of items out, not forgetting to laugh disdainfully. "Ha ha ha, the useless elder is with the female servant. It really makes sense." Once the ungrateful disciples left, the place became a mess. Jinwo lay on the floor covered in dirt, struggling to sit up, her anger rendering her speechless. After a moment, she sat up, wiped the blood from her face and said angrily, "A bunch of treacherous scum." Just then, a hoarse, weak voice called out, "Jinwo." She hurriedly crawled closer to Tiao Xuan, worriedly asking Elder Xiao, "Are you okay?" She reassured him, "Don't worry, those ungrateful people are gone, and I can take good care of you." Tiao Xuan, with a gaunt face, weakly asked, "After bringing you up the mountain, I never let you become my disciple or taught you how to cultivate. Do you hate me?" Jinu cried uncontrollably, trying to wipe her tears, and replied, "I know my roots are insufficient, and that I have no chance to cultivate. When Elder saved me from the slave traders, I was deeply grateful, and never held any resentment. I only hate that the heavens are unfair, that the wicked thrive while the good perish." Chao Shen's hands trembled as he clutched the blanket, sitting up in regret. "If I had accepted you as a disciple earlier, it would have been better." He coughed violently. Cough, cough, cough. Seeing him cough continuously, Jinuo panicked and called out Elder. Qiao Xuan looked at his blood-stained hands from coughing and smiled sadly. "Ah, I'm already like a dead man." Suddenly, Jinuo knelt down and said loudly, "If you don't mind, please accept me as your disciple. I will definitely kill those traitors and avenge you, elder. If you don't accept me, I won't get up." Qiao Xuan, seeing this scene before his death, felt immense joy. But then he shook his head and sighed. He placed his hand on his chest, searching for something, and weakly said, "Jinuo, I'm sick. Not foolish. Accepting you now would only push you to your death." Jinuo ignored his words and anxiously urged, "Elder, don't move." His trembling hand took out a bottle of elixir and handed it to her, saying, "There's still a bottle of Ning Yuan Dan here. Although it's not a great item, it's the last thing I can give you." Jinuo disregarded it, placing her hand on his shoulder, saying, "Don't worry about me anymore. Just lie down." Qiao Xuan gently smiled to reassure her, "Don't worry. I'm not going to die that quickly." Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, and the elixir fell from his hand. Jinuo cried out repeatedly, calling "Elder, Elder." At the moment the elixir shattered on the ground, Qiao Xuan was on the verge of death. Before the end, he thought his vision gradually becoming blurry, but he could still clearly see Jinuo's face and hear her self-reproaching cries. "Elder, don't move. It's all my fault. I won't ask to be your disciple anymore. Please wake up." A moment ago, Qiao Xuan could see and hear clearly, but the next moment everything became hazy. "So this is what it feels like to die, Jinuo. Your cries are too loud, making my ears hurt. It's truly frustrating." Frustrated about what, at this moment? Qiao Xuan was nearing his last breath, filled with regret. "If I had accepted you as my disciple earlier, it would have been better." Just then, the system popped up with a notification. Checking confirming the master-disciple relationship between the host and the disciple is sincere. The system accepts the disciple officially activating. Qiao Xuan's soul was then transported to the system space, and as he looked at the lines of text before him, he was startled. System. The system rewarded Qiao Xuan with a medicinal pill, and he couldn't help but feel emotional as he shouted, "No way! This is truly a Wuliang Jian Dan." A Wuliang Jian Dan contains rich spiritual energy equivalent to nearly 10,000 Ning Yuan Dan. After recovery, it not only impacts his cultivation level, but can also heal injuries. Qiao Xuan held the precious elixir like a treasure, pressing it against his cheek, moved to tears. After living for 20 years, the golden opportunity has finally come. Qiao Xuan recalled the scene from 20 years ago, when he had arrived in this world due to a car explosion, initially thinking he had hit the jackpot of a story like Long Ao Tian, with a prestigious background and exceptional talent, establishing his own foundation before turning 10. Unexpectedly, 15 years later after joining the Hongmeng Sect, his cultivation not only did not improve, but worsened, becoming a laughingstock for everyone. He told himself, "Fortunately, the heavens have eyes and have given me another chance to return." The main issue was that Qiao Xuan rubbed his chin and asked the system, "What does this program do?" The system replied, "As the name suggests anything, the host passes on to the disciple as a master will be rewarded according to a multiplicative mechanism." Qiao Xuan understood the system's intent, but to be sure asked again for confirmation. "So does transmitting supreme techniques to the disciple count?" The system answered, "It does. Under the guidance of the host, if the disciple's cultivation or comprehension increases, the host will also receive the corresponding value multiplied. In simple terms, if the host teaches the disciple cultivation equivalent to 200 days, you will receive cultivation equal to those 200 days. Additionally, if the disciple comprehends a sword technique under the host's guidance, the host will also receive n times that value, directly leveling up their comprehension by n levels." Qiao Xuan raised the precious elixir in his hand and asked, "So if I give this golden elixir to the disciple, now can I receive n times the reward?" The system replied, "No. All items classified by the system cannot have their value counted more than once." Then it suggested, "However, if the host teaches the disciple new insights not on the system's list, you can receive double Qiao Xuan, then fully understood the mechanism of the system. So that's how it is." Even though Qiao Xuan thought to himself that it couldn't be that simple to create infinity. Seizing the opportunity, he quickly placed the elixir in his mouth and began to absorb its spiritual energy throughout his body, breaking through to the golden core realm. Meanwhile, outside, Jinwo's body was weak and trembling as she cried continuously, "Elder, please, wake up. I agree with you. I won't ask to be your disciple anymore, and I won't seek revenge. I don't need Ning Yuan Dan. I just need you to wake up." Suddenly, a warm spiritual hand gently patted Jinwo's head, calling her foolish. "Remember what I taught you, my disciple," Chao Shen said with a smile. "We will take revenge for our grievances, and we will make it even greater." The scene shifted to the 6th peak of the Hongmeng Sect, where the 3rd disciple Wu Feng had already run to the entrance and knelt on the ground pleading, "I, Wu Feng, wish to pay my respects to Elder Wang and become his disciple." He raised a scroll high saying, "This contains all the secrets of Tiao Xuan. I intentionally bring it to offer to Elder Wang to show my sincerity." Elder Wang activated his spiritual energy to take the scroll from Wu Feng's hands. As the elder of the 6th peak and the head of the law enforcement hall, Wang Yan stroked his beard and smiled smugly. "Tiao Xuan has indeed taught a good disciple. The #1 genius of Hongmeng Zun Qiao Ao has finally met this day." Putting aside the matter of Tiao Xuan, he looked down at Wu Feng and said, "If you want to be my disciple, that's fine. But the law enforcement hall has restrictions that can sever your spiritual roots." As he spoke, he tossed a chain down to Wu Feng, emphasizing, "If you can bring back Tiao Xuan's spiritual roots, I will immediately make you my grand disciple." He reminded him to take good care of the chain, as encountering blood without using the secret technique could easily lead to an explosion. At that moment, Wu Feng, like a dog, hurriedly crawled to pick up the chain, exuding a confident aura as he replied, "Elder Wang, rest assured, I will definitely accomplish this." Just then, a streak of golden spiritual energy shot towards Wu Feng at lightning speed. Before he could comprehend what was happening, the energy struck his back, sending him crashing into a stone pillar. Moments later, as the dust settled, it revealed Wu Feng trembling with no fingers left intact, and the stone where he had hit was cracked with continuous coughing. Suddenly, Wu Feng felt something and opened his eyes wide in shock, realizing the chain had embedded itself in his abdomen. After a moment of shock, the intense pain hit him, and he fell to the ground, reaching out towards Wang Yan, above tears streaming down his face as he cried, "I can't die here. My future has just begun." Wang Yan, however, paid no attention to the fool writhing on the ground and looked up to ask who. Instantly, he was met with the familiar figure of Tiao Xuan. Tiao Xuan, along with Jinwo, flew down on a sword, and his fingers still bore traces of the previous attack. Tiao Xuan smiled and said, "Elder Wang, if you want to take my spiritual roots, why not take them yourself?" Seeing the powerful aura approaching him, Wang Yan quickly turned and explained with a forced smile, "Elder Xiao, you're exaggerating. I was just joking with your disciple." He thought to himself, didn't they say this useless person was about to die? Why does he seem so strong, as if he just broke through to the golden core? Chao Xuan coldly replied, "Oh, is that so? I'm not joking." Like Elder Wang. He then activated the sword technique, summoning countless swords to appear in the sky. Wang Yan's eyes widened in shock, his face darkening. The Shanglang sword technique reminded him of the time Tiao Xuan was praised in front of everyone, while he could only stand below, gritting his teeth. He recalled when he and Tiao Xuan joined the Hongmeng Sect. Because he had created the Shanglang sword technique, he received the Sectmaster's favor and countless cultivation resources. Fortunately, he broke through to the golden core first, but Tiao Xuan had become a useless person. Thinking back, he took out a magical weapon and formed a barrier. He spoke forcefully. "Elder Xiao, don't attack. I've only just reached the 2nd level of golden core. If we fight, you won't be able to withstand it." Before he could finish, the barrier was shattered by the countless swords. Wang Yan's eyes widened in disbelief, as Tiao Xuan mockingly laughed. "Is that all there is to our Elder Wang at the 2nd level of golden core?" He continued to channel his spiritual energy into the sword technique, directing the countless swords to strike at Wang Yan. Wang Yan panicked, realizing that this power was at least at the 3rd level, if not higher. Distracted by the might of the sword technique and not focusing on defense, he was pierced by a sword that shot down from above, impaling his hand. He screamed in pain, "Ah, my hand!" Immediately, Wang Yan hurriedly jumped back several dozen meters, angrily shouting, "Damn it, Tiao Xuan! If you dare to kill me, The sect will not let you go. Qiao Xuan lightly replied, "Oh really? I want to see how the sect will deal with me if I deliberately kill you." Saying this, Qiao Xuan waved his fingers at Wang Yan and shouted, "Go!" At that moment, his sword technique became even more terrifying, speeding towards Wang Yan. He quickly took out his turtle shell, thinking angrily, "Damn it, Qiao Xuan, I can only use this." As he threw the turtle shell, it formed a solid barrier blocking all of Qiao Xuan's sword attacks. Wang Yan was furious, thinking, "Damn it, this high-grade Zhuan-class magical weapon can only be used 3 times. This is the last time he had originally planned to save it, for when he broke through to the nascent soul to resist the lightning tribulation." Qiao Xuan mockingly said, "Oh, our elder Wang is indeed profound. You've kept quite a few treasures over the years, haven't you? Let's see how this technique fares." He then activated the sword technique, merging all the small swords into one large sword and aimed it at the turtle shell. Wang Yan, seeing the power of this attack, could only mutter, "This is a disaster," and he desperately tried to salvage the situation. "Qiao Xuan, you dare." Qiao Xuan continued to channel his spiritual energy into the massive sword. His expression cold as he said, "Why wouldn't I dare?" With a loud crash, he shattered Wang Yan's turtle shell. At that moment, Wang Yan looked at the enormous sword descending upon him. His eyes filled with despair as he shouted, "No!" Just as he finished speaking, the sword struck him, obliterating the area where he stood. Afterward, Qiao Xuan retracted the sword technique a few seconds later as the dust settled. A large crater was left behind. Wang Yan had not yet met his end, but he was now in tatters. His clothes torn, coughing incessantly as he looked at Qiao Xuan, approaching him from above the flying sword, his face pale with fear as he shouted, "You don't come any closer." Qiao Xuan mockingly said, "That barrier was at least a high-grade Xuan class, wasn't it?" He thought to himself, "In this world, magical weapons are classified by quality into 5 levels: human, Zhuan, earth, heaven, and immortal, further divided into lower, middle, upper, and supreme. A high-grade Zhuan-class weapon in ordinary sects can be considered a treasure, yet Wang Yan managed to hide such a treasure. However, as he spoke, Qiao Xuan condensed the sword in his hand and directly slashed down with a murderous gaze. "This is the end." Just then, a resonant voice echoed, "Elder Xiao, show mercy." Immediately, a barrier appeared to block Qiao Xuan's sword strike. Just as he was about to kill Wang Yan, he was interrupted, and he angrily looked up. Suddenly, the sect master of Hongmeng Sect, Zhang, he appeared. He rode a crane, just like his name, and the traces of spiritual energy from the barrier he had just created were still visible on his hands. With a gentle smile, he advised Elder Xiao, "Please do not be agitated. Internal strife among fellow disciples may violate sect rules, but it will only result in expulsion from the sect." Qiao Xuan sheathed his sword, and the barrier protecting Wang Yan slowly dissipated. He smiled thoughtfully. Upon seeing the sect master arrive, Wang Yan felt as if he had found a treasure, relieved and eager to report. "Sect master, you must take charge for me. Qiao Xuan is slaughtering fellow disciples." Contrary to Wang Yan's sense of salvation, the sect master slapped him with a wave of spiritual energy, shouting, "Shut your mouth." He coldly added, "Elder Wang, do you want to follow me into the law enforcement hall to see who deserves to be expelled from the secti?" Wang Yan, holding his swollen cheek and teary-eyed with fear, replied, "No, no way." The sect master ignored the old useless man and turned to Qiao Xuan, congratulating him. "Congratulations, junior brother. After all your hardships, you have finally entered the Golden Core realm." Qiao Xuan clasped his hands and replied, "Thank you, sect master. If I hadn't broken through to the Golden Core this time, I fear I would have been robbed of my spiritual roots by others colluding with traitors." Hearing Qiao Xuan's words to the sect master, Wang Yan felt a pang of anxiety. He darkened his face and loudly explained, "It's all a misunderstanding. This was merely my oversight. I agreed to accept someone from outside the sect. I hope Elder Xiao will not hold this against me." Qiao Xuan stood with his arms crossed, coldly smiling. "In front of the sect master, I can temporarily spare your life." Suddenly, he turned his fierce gaze towards the ungrateful disciple and said in a deep voice, "But that Wu Feng who killed his master and destroyed his clan must have his cultivation crippled and be expelled from the sect, never to set foot in Hongmeng Sect again." Wu Feng, lying among the debris, cried out begging, "Sect master, save me." The sect master hesitated for a moment, but then sighed and turned a blind eye, saying, Let Qiao Xuan handle this. Just then, Ji Nuo descended with the wind, saying no need for the master to take action. Wu Feng, seeing the useless girl who had once been oppressed by him, now daring to act so boldly, launched a wave of spiritual energy to attack Ji Nuo, sneering, "You think a useless person like you can challenge me?" Juno calmly faced Wu Feng's attack, effortlessly flipping her hand to reveal a sword enveloped in purple spiritual energy, and executed the Shanglang sword technique, shattering Wu Feng's attack. She then pointed the sword at him. Wu Feng's eyes widened in disbelief, his mouth agape, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. You're not a useless person. When did you learn the Shanglang sword technique?" He himself had not been able to comprehend the Shanglang sword technique until today. Qiao Xuan coldly laughed. "A useless person, you say?" He recalled the scene of Ji Nuo obediently kneeling on the ground, learning just 3 days ago. The system displayed Ji Nuo's information. Name, Ji Nuo identity, Grand Disciple, Comprehension, Ability, 160, Root Quality, 15, Talent, Wutian Jianti, not yet activated, Activation Condition. Reach Basic Realm, recognized by the ancestral sword technique of the Lin family. Qiao Xuan stroked his chin, turning away and muttering, "If she is indeed the Wutian Jianti, it is truly rare." Hearing Qiao Xuan's muttering, Ji Nuo curiously asked, "Master, what is the Wutian Jianti?" Qiao Xuan awkwardly smiled and deflected. "It's nothing. I just feel you have a talent for swordsmanship." Ji Nuo feigned surprise, making a few "oh" sounds, then said, "Later. I will go find Wu Feng. I cannot let you lose face." He then struck a cool pose, demonstrating a few sword moves against a tree, while explaining to Ji Nuo, "This is the Shanglang sword technique, a technique I created years ago. You just need to learn this part." Ji Nuo focused intently, reminding herself that this was crucial, and she needed to remember it. After Qiao Xuan finished demonstrating, Ji Nuo condensed her own sword and joyfully ran over to show him, asking, "Master, is this how it's done?" Qiao Xuan couldn't help but be shocked quickly, regaining his composure as a master and smiling in praise. "Ah, not bad. You did very well." At that moment, the system also displayed a notification. Entering the Shanglang sword technique. The host teaches the disciple. The Shanglang sword technique is a top-tier human-level technique, rewards multiplied by M, receiving the Zhantian Jue, a top-tier celestial technique. Qiao Xuan confirmed that she was indeed a true treasure. Returning to the present, Ji Nuo's gaze turned cold as she stepped forcefully on the chain embedded in Wu Feng's abdomen, scolding, "With the teachings of the master, you still cannot comprehend." Wu Feng desperately raised his hand to plead, "No, please don't." Not knowing who the real useless one was, as soon as Ji Nuo finished speaking, she stomped down hard, driving the chain deeper into his body. After finishing, Ji Nuo turned around and bowed to Qiao Xuan, reporting, "The spiritual roots of the traitor have been destroyed. Please check." Master Qiao Xuan nodded in satisfaction, saying, "Well done." At that moment, the sect master spoke up. "Since Elder Xiao has dealt with this, I will take care of Elder Wang." Qiao Xuan looked up and smiled lightly, saying, "When did I say this was over?" The sect master, puzzled, asked, "Didn't you just agree to spare his life?" Wang Yan, sweating profusely, shouted, "What are you thinking?" Qiao Xuan coldly replied, "I said I would spare his life." His eyes turned blood red as he pointed at Wang Yan, declaring, "But that doesn't mean I'll let him go. As for how to satisfy me, let's see Elder Wang's sincerity." At this moment, Wang Yan was furious, but he had to swallow his anger in silence. He closed his eyes and forced a calm smile, responding, all right." His smile gradually faded. Wang Yan raised both hands to his cancong bag, saying, "All my belongings are in this cancong bag. I hope Elder Xiao won't find it laughable." Qiao Xuan accepted the cancong bag, smiling in satisfaction. Elder Wang is indeed a wise man, truly understanding righteousness. "Thank you, Elder Wang." After that, he turned to leave, not forgetting to remind, "Don't follow us, Elder Wang." He then called out loudly, "Ji Nuo, let's go." Juno followed closely behind, and Qiao Xuan smiled, patting her shoulder in admiration. "Master, you're amazing," Qiao Xuan cheerfully instructed. "Rest for a day, and tomorrow I will officially teach you how to cultivate." Meanwhile, the sect master also reminded, "I will take my leave. Now, Elder Wang, take care of yourself." After saying this, he rode off on his crane. Once Qiao Xuan and the Sect master had left Wang Yan's face twisted in anger. His eyes bulged, revealing a hint of blood, and he muttered in resentment, "Qiao Xuan, just wait for me. 3 years in Heidong, 30 years in He-X." The next morning as dawn broke, Qiao Xuan was rummaging through Wang Yan's Can Kong bag to inventory the items. He pulled out a medicinal pill and muttered, "Wang Yan has accumulated quite a bit. These are all golden core herbs used for alchemy, but their quality is rather mediocre." Following that, he found a mid-grade Earth-level 5 elements chain, and he was very pleased, saying, "If there's anything good among Wang Yan's items, it's this. But I won't need it. I'll give it to Ji Nuo." As for the treasures, he would have to wait for the system's feedback. Qiao Xuan stroked his chin, pondering what else might be left. When he opened the bag, a bright red bag of spirit stones caught his eye, sparkling. He was astonished. Are all these spirit stones? A mere elder has over 100 high-grade spirit stones. This little brat Wang Yan must have made quite a fortune in recent days. He calculated, "This is a windfall. I could build a villa with this. Living in a wooden house is getting boring." Just then Ji Nuo approached, knocking on the door, calling, "Master, you told me to come find you for training in 2 hours. Can I come in now?" Qiao Xuan replied, "Come in." Inside, he had already set up 2 cushions, one for himself and the other for Ji Nuo, across from him. He said seriously, "Ji Nuo, sit down." She nodded in agreement. The master briefly introduced the cultivation levels of cultivators, which are divided into post-heaven, pre-heaven, chi, refining foundation, establishment, golden core, nascent, soul, spirit, separation, integration, great ascension, and tribulation crossing. Each level is further divided into 10 minor levels. The post-heaven realm stimulates the power of blood and chi, strengthening muscles, bones, and skin, enhancing physical strength and quality. The pre-heaven realm transforms blood and chi into internal energy, increasing the body's attack power and defensive capabilities. Only after successfully crossing the lightning tribulation and reaching the highest level can one become an immortal, but those are legends that cannot be achieved. Qiao Sen took Junao's hands and transmitted his energy, saying, "I will teach you the pre-heaven technique first. Focus on comprehending it," Juno replied. "Yes," he instructed. "Try to circulate it a few times to feel it." Jinuo entered a state of comprehension. The system displayed her information. Name, Jinuo identity. Grand Disciple, comprehension ability. 260. Root quality. 15 talent. Xiantianjianti. Not yet activated. Activation condition. Reach foundation establishment and gain recognition from the ancestral sword technique of the Lin family. Qiao Xuan looked at the system information and stroked his chin, thinking, a root quality of only 15. He asked the system, "What is the highest level of root quality and comprehension for an average person?" The system replied, "The average value is around 50 to 60. No wonder Jinuo's comprehension of techniques was so slow. However, cultivating was indeed very difficult. It seemed he could only force her to adapt. Qiao Xuan stood up, releasing his spiritual energy, and slowly guiding it throughout her body. After a while, Jinuo opened her eyes, and with tears in her eyes, she said anxiously, "Master, how can you perform this directly for me? I've heard that the cost of doing so is very high. Not only can it harm your cultivation, but it can also lower your realm and even damage your roots." Qiao Xuan patted her head, reassuring her, "Don't worry, I'm fine." At that moment, the system announced, "Reward calculation complete. The host has transmitted 100 days of cultivation to the disciple, receiving a reward multiplied by 5, totaling 500 days of cultivation." Qiao Xuan smiled, thinking, this is even better. He then took the Cancong bag and presented it to Ji No, saying, "There are some things he didn't take. Initially, I was careless and didn't have anything good for you. Today, consider this a compensation for your apprenticeship." Jinu's eyes lit up brighter than car headlights as she looked at the gifted items, exclaiming, "Master, is this all for me?" As soon as he finished gifting, the system calculated the reward. The host has gifted the disciple a Sanje Xiao Huan Dan 10, Jie Ning, Yuan Dan reward, multiplied by 15, receiving a Zi Jie Da Huan Dan. Juno clasped her hands in gratitude, saying, "Thank you for your kindness, Master. If you ever need anything, I will do my utmost. I will not hesitate to die for you." The system calculated the reward. the host has gifted the disciple 17 martial arts techniques, receiving a reward multiplied by 20, obtaining the Zong Heng Wan Li Yu Jian Jue, a top-tier celestial technique. Chaoshuan smiled lightly, saying, "Are you being polite with me? Go back and practice to increase your comprehension. Once you successfully refine it, I will transmit more techniques to you." Jinuo was surprised. There will be another time. The system announced the reward calculation. The host has gifted the disciple a mid-grade Earth-level Wu Hang Qi, receiving a reward multiplied by 20, obtaining the Rao Ji Ro Jian, a top-tier Earth-level technique. Juno anxiously asked, "Master, are you really going to transmit techniques to me like this?" Tiaoshuan patted her shoulder, reassuring her, "I'm very good. If you don't believe me, wait for me to enter seclusion for 3 days, and I guarantee I will break through to the 5th level of Golden Core." Hearing this, Jinuo felt relieved. She clasped her hands seriously, saying, "Then I will definitely protect you well. No one is allowed to come near." Chaoshuan sighed. All right, don't exaggerate. You should go digest this." Jinuo responded cheerfully. "Then I won't disturb you any longer." After Jinuo left, Chaoshuan opened the system and muttered, "All right, let me see what treasures the system has for me." First, he took out a mid-grade Earth-level Jie Da Huan Dan from the system. "I've heard of this. At least one needs to reach the nascent soul realm to refine it." Holding the pill that radiated rich spiritual energy filling the room, he thought to himself, "All the heavenly treasures here in the CGA elixirs are indeed the highest quality. But even if I were to topple the Hongmeng Sect, I might not find 5 of these." Next, Chaoshuan took a sword and a scroll of techniques. However, what pleased him the most was the Zong Heng Wan Li Yu Jian Jue, a top-tier celestial technique. This was the pinnacle technique for sword control. With this technique combined with the top-tier Earth-level Raoji Rao, no one could compare. He decided to test it out. Thinking this Tiaoshuan used the sword, the top-tier celestial technique was unleashed on the top-tier Earth-level Raoji Rao, launching the sword at high speed towards a large rock, directly shattering it. Chaoshuan then controlled the sword to return. He was satisfied, saying, "Not bad. This Zong Heng Wan Li sword technique studies the way of the sword. If I can find even more types of swords, I'm sure there will be even more levels of challenge, and I should be able to digest some of the system's cultivation." Chaoshuan smirked, confident that he could at least break through to the 5th level of Golden Core soon. At the Hongmeng Sect, the place was bustling with people, very noisy and lively. Among them was the 4th disciple Wang Feng, walking while flirting with 2 beautiful girls. The 5th disciple, Li Shan, followed behind, feeling annoyed at the sight. Suddenly he overheard 2 female disciples gossiping. "Have you heard Elder Xiao from the 7th peak seems to have recovered after being ambushed and has now reached the Golden Core. They say he had a conflict with Elder Wang from the 6th peak, and Elder Wang was defeated." Both girls imagined the handsome figure of Tiaoshuan, unable to contain their admiration, as they exclaimed, "I also heard that Elder Xiao didn't hesitate to sacrifice his own roots to transmit techniques to his female disciple. Elder Xiao is so handsome. I truly admire him. You could have such a master." Hearing this, Li Shan frowned, confused, thinking Tiaoshuan transmitted techniques to a female disciple. Could it be that it's Jinuo ahead? The golden-haired disciple nestled in Wang Feng's embrace, curiously asked, "Are you both from the 7th peak?" She continued, "Why did you leave?" Wang Feng, boasting, replied, "Sister, don't believe the rumors. That old man Xiao is very cruel to his disciples. We couldn't stand it anymore, so we left." He turned to Li Shan and asked, "Right." Li Shan, lost in thought about who Tiaoshuan had transmitted techniques to, was startled when called, and replied with a nervous smile, "Ah, yes." The golden-haired girl then asked, "Is that true?" Meanwhile, the 2nd disciple, Lin Hao Ran, who had been hiding nearby, overheard the entire conversation. He clenched the elixir tightly, pondering. Tiaoshuan has broken through to the Golden Core, and Elder Wang was defeated. He's transmitting techniques to his disciples. I must see this for myself. With that thought, he flew off on his sword, transitioning to the 7th peak. At this moment, a disciple arrived at the peak to pay respects to Elder Xiaolin. Hao Ran had also arrived, hiding in a nearby bush to eavesdrop. This disciple was the Grand Disciple of the Sect Master Zhang. Just hearing his name made it clear he was the favored child of fortune. He clasped his hands and conveyed the Sect Master's message. This time, I'm here on behalf of the Sect Master to inform you that in 100 days there will be a Sect competition. The Sect Master has sent me to remind Elder Shao to prepare well. After delivering the message, he awkwardly added, "But forgive me for speaking frankly. The disciple you chose seems to lack the necessary qualifications. If she participates in the Sect competition, she might be beaten to tears." Zhina, furious, shouted. "You Tiaoxuan?" Chuckled lightly, saying, "It seems that Ye Sha is a bit blind." Hearing this, the disciple Ye Shen gritted his teeth in frustration. "What do you mean?" Tiaoxuan coldly replied, "My female disciple's cultivation was not even comparable to an ordinary person 3 days ago, and now she has reached the 10th level of post-heaven. I dare. Ask if you think you can win against her?" Yashane's eyes widened in disbelief, unable to accept what he was hearing. You're joking, right?" Seeing this, Tiaoxuan took out a fan and put on sunglasses, saying with a smirk, "If you don't believe it, let my disciple show you." Jinwo, responding eagerly, said, "Yes, Master." She then circulated her technique, unleashing her spiritual energy. Yashen, witnessing this, still couldn't believe it. Realizing that she had indeed reached the 10th level of post-heaven, Lin Hao Ran, hidden in the bushes, was also in disbelief, thinking, how could she achieve that level? If she were to cultivate on her own, she would probably never reach that level. It seemed that Tiaoxuan had indeed transmitted techniques to her. He then devised a plan, thinking, I can't believe that old man has suddenly changed. I've heard that transmitting techniques comes at a great cost. I might as well take this opportunity to beat him up. After considering this, Lin Hao Ran rushed back to the 3rd summit of the Sect's council, respectfully recounting everything about Tiaoxuan to an elder sitting in a chair made from the bones of a magical beast. This elder was Meng Wu, the elder of the 3rd peak. After hearing the report, he asked in a deep voice, "Are you saying that Tiaoxuan has taken all of Wang Yan's belongings and is now protecting his disciple?" In his weakest moment, he could take this opportunity to strike back. Lin Hao Ran clasped his hands and flattered elder. "You should have the most resources for cultivation. That brat Xiao is just a waste of talent." Meng Wu slowly stood up and said, "If that's the case, then let's go pay him a visit." He added with a sinister smile, "If we succeed this time, I will make you my grand disciple." Lin Hao Ran was overjoyed, responding, "Thank you, elder." At the same time, in Tiaoxuan's wooden house, inside the training room, both master and disciple sat facing each other. Tiaoxuan asked, "Are you ready today? I will help you break through the pre-heaven purification seal. If all goes well, your future cultivation will be smoother and less painful." Jinor recalled the annoying face of the traitor Yeshen, and her anger flared as she thought, "That damned Yeshen dares to look down on me. Just wait. Once I succeed in my studies, I will show you." Jinor replied, "I'm ready." Seeing her confident determination, Tiaoxuan felt satisfied, thinking, although that brat Ye Shen has betrayed the Sect Master, Jinwo's current spirit is not a bad thing. Just at the right moment as she breaks through to a higher realm, it will be the best time to purify the seal. He remembered that Wang Yan had obtained quite a bit of money and could buy some 4th-grade purification pills, which he could now use. With that thought, Tiaoxuan took out a pill from his Kong bag and announced, "All right, I will begin." One hand performed the technique, while the other pressed against Jinwo's forehead to transmit the spiritual energy from the pill to her. Jina also activated her technique to absorb the spiritual energy from Tiaoxuan. She gritted her teeth, enduring the pain, which was even worse than before, but after enduring, she felt her entire body become lighter. Once everything felt lighter, Jinwo fell into a meditative state. The system then announced reward calculation. The host has transmitted 200 days of cultivation to the disciple, receiving a reward multiplied by 2, totaling 400 days of cultivation, and the lower grade Tui Kiem. Pop Tiaoxuan glanced at the system panel and smiled in delight, thinking, "Success. This feeling of lightness is truly enjoyable." He had also advanced to the 6th level of Golden Core. After a while, Jinuo opened her eyes, having also advanced to the 1st level of pre-heaven. Looking at the abundant spiritual energy in her body, she wondered, Is this the purification seal? Now that I'm at the pre-heaven realm, can I fight Ye Shen? The system displayed all her information. Name, Jina. Identity, Grand Disciple. Comprehension, Ability, 260. Root, Quality, 85. Talent, Shen Tianjiantai, not yet activated. Activation, Condition, Reach, Foundation, Establishment, and gain recognition from the ancestral sword technique of the Lin family. Chao Xuan patted Jino's shoulder, smiling broadly. Be confident. Show Ye Shen what you can do. After defeating him, I will take you to challenge the heavenly realm. Jinuo joyfully asked, Can I really? Just then, there was a knock at the door, followed by an urgent voice calling, Elder Xiao, are you there? Your disciple is here to collect herbs to heal a seriously injured family member. Chao Xuan was slightly surprised and said, Oh. He looked at Jinuo, who was confused, thinking, Besides me, does Master have another disciple? Chao Xuan slowly opened the door, and Jinuo followed only to see the traitor, Lin Hao Ran, who she angrily shouted at, Why are you here, you traitor? At that moment, Lin Hao Ran, covered in injuries, was being supported by two disciples. The disciple of Meng Wu, holding a healing herb tightly, weakly called out, Master. He continued to play the role of a pitiful disciple, trembling as he raised the herb, trying to sound sincere. Master, I could only find one long shui cow. Please take it. Junao, unable to contain her anger, shouted, You shameless traitor! Didn't you join the Three Peaks? Why are you back here? Tiao Xuan remained silent, observing to see what they would do next. Lin Hao Ran, trembling, tried to explain, Cough, cough, Jinuo. You misunderstand. I wanted to join the Three Peaks to ask for their help in obtaining a long shui cow to save Master. At that moment, the two supporting actors stepped in. The blue-haired disciple clenched his fists and angrily shouted, Lin Shudi, I almost lost my life because of this long shui cow. What do you mean by this? As soon as he finished, the brown-haired disciple chimed in. Exactly. Not only do you not express gratitude, but you also speak harshly. Wang Miang also criticized. That's right. Elder Xiao, this disciple of yours has been begging me for help, kneeling at my door for 3 days and nights. I was moved. Junua, once again, unable to contain her anger, pointed at the group of scoundrels and shouted, Shut up! He is clearly a traitor to the sect, and now he's trying to twist the truth. Tiao Xuan then smiled lightly, saying, Leave this to me. He coldly asked, If you've joined the Three Peaks, why are you back here today? Do you want to return to my side? Upon hearing Tiao Xuan's question, the traitor quickly knelt down, raising the herb above his head in a show of feigned respect. I, Lin Hao Ran, know my serious crime of betraying the sect, and am unworthy to be your disciple. I only hope you will accept this long shui cow. The blue-haired disciple observed Tiao Xuan cautiously, saying, But Elder Xiao, with such abundant blood and qi, you don't seem to be seriously injured. You probably don't need this long shui cow. The brown-haired disciple also clicked his tongue, saying, What a pity Lin Shudi's roots are injured. Without the CGA elixir, his cultivation will likely be limited in the future. After that, the two exchanged glances with Tiao Xuan, smirking. The blue-haired disciple provoked Elder Xiao, You wouldn't refuse to take this CGA elixir, would you? The brown-haired disciple added, Lin Shidi was injured for your sake. Seeing the two disciples of Meng Wu playing their roles so well, Lin Hao Ran felt excited but pretended to scold. You two are being too harsh. This little act could not escape Tiao Xuan's keen eyes. He smirked knowingly, thinking, If you want to perform, then I, your master, will teach you what true acting is. He then pretended to be weak, leaning against his female disciple, exclaiming, Who said, I don't need it. I'm feeling weak today, and I really need the long shui cow to recover my strength. Isn't that right? Jinuo, as he spoke, he discreetly winked at her. The female disciple immediately understood the signal from her master and cooperated, saying, Yes, master has been feeling weak lately. The 4 people standing below were stunned, caught between confusion and embarrassment. Lin Hao Ran, gripping the long shui chow tightly, cursed inwardly. How can this old dog act so shamelessly? Forget it. The long shui chow isn't worth much. If I can really exchange it for the CGA elixir, then it's not a loss. At this moment, Tiao Xuan continued to act sickly, trembling all over, needing his female disciple to support him. Although Lin Haoran was quite dissatisfied, he still pretended to be sincere, saying, "If that's the case, then please keep the long shui chao for yourself. My life is of no concern." As soon as the traitor finished speaking, Tiao Xuan swiftly moved like the wind, taking the herb from his hand while saying, "Thank you." He then quickly returned to his original position. Lin Haoran stared in shock, thinking, "That was fast." Tiao Xuan handed the herb to his female disciple, cheerfully saying, "Quick, let's make some chicken soup tonight." Receiving the gift from her master, Jinuo was stunned, asking Long Shui Cao for chicken soup. At that moment, the system displayed a notification for gifting the human-level Long Shui Cao to the disciple, receiving 5 times the reward for the earth-level Long Shui Cao. Seeing that the item had been received, Lin Hao Ran resumed his act of a dying patient, coughing. "Cough, cough, if I can help my master, that's good." The 2 disciples of Meng Wu immediately rushed to support him. The brown-haired disciple anxiously called Lin Shi Di, while the blue-haired disciple, panicking, added, "Lin Shi Di, you risked your cultivation to save your master. Elder Xiao, will you really just stand by and watch?" Meng Wu, hearing this, immediately reacted, crossing his arms and demanding justice. "Elder Xiao, human life is precious. As masters, how can we stand by and watch? If this gets out, how can the 7th peak accept disciples?" Tiao Xuan slowly approached the traitor, saying, "Wait a moment, what's the rush?" He squatted down in front of Lin Haoran, holding his hand and smiling. "If you've gone to such lengths for me, how can I not help you? It's just a CJ elixir, right? But since you're seriously injured, you might not be able to absorb its power. Let me first help you clear your meridians." Meng Wu, hearing this, also smiled and praised Elder Xiao is truly kind. However, deep down, he was suspicious, thinking, it seems that Tiao Xuan really did transmit techniques to his disciple. He dares to take the initiative to transmit. He must have some secret technique that doesn't consume energy. I'll just observe for now. Tiao Xuan used 2 fingers to perform a sealing technique on the traitor's neck while saying, "You've risked your life for me. How could I not fulfill this small request?" After saying this, a stream of golden spiritual energy flowed through Lin Haoran's tightly held arm, causing him immense pain, and he screamed in horror, "Ah!" Hearing his cries, the brown-haired disciple glanced at his master and asked, Is this really a transmission? Why is Lin Shidi screaming like that?" The blue-haired disciple also exclaimed, "What's going on?" Meng Wu, standing behind, appeared wise and explained, "Don't panic. The essence of transmission is pain. This is Lin Shudi's opportunity." As Lin Haoran endured the excruciating pain, his eyes rolled back and he gritted his teeth, cursing inwardly, "That old dog isn't transmitting to me at all. He's severing my tendons and taking my cultivation." Meanwhile, Tiao Xuan looked at him with a hateful gaze, increasing the speed of his energy transfer. Lin Haoran, drenched in sweat and in agony to the core, felt tears streaming down his face, and he helplessly glanced at Meng Wu for help. "I'm done for. Why can't I speak? Mana Trong Lao, please save me." But this elder, unaware of the situation, thought he was just overjoyed and raised a finger to indicate little Lin, "Well done." After a while, the process of energy transmission came to an end. Lin Haoran, battered and exhausted, collapsed to the ground, his wrist smoking, his eyes wide open in a daze. After teaching the traitor a lesson, Tiao Xuan brushed his hands and said, "All right, you can use medicine to heal. I was a bit too forceful earlier. His cultivation is too low to withstand it. You all take him back to recuperate." After that, Tiao Xuan turned to leave, wiping the sweat from his forehead and pretending to be tired, saying, "I've wasted half my energy. I want to rest for a bit, so I won't keep you any longer." Jinuo hurriedly ran over to support her master, softly calling "Master." Behind them, Meng Wu, seeing Tiao Xuan's tired demeanor, felt quite pleased. He scratched his cheek and smiled, saying, All right. In his mind, he began to plot. Although I can't see the essence of the transmission, Tiao Xuan's aura has weakened significantly. I might as well take this opportunity. With that thought, he gathered his spiritual energy and said, "Elder Xiao, take care." After saying this, he immediately lunged at Tiao Xuan to launch a surprise attack from behind. Tiao Xuan had anticipated this situation, remaining calm. He smirked lightly, then quickly turned around and countered with a palm strike. The two streams of spiritual energy collided, creating a tremendous explosion. Qiao Xuan stared into Meng Wu's eyes, his gaze sharp and blood-red, mockingly asking, "Elder Meng, is this how a teacher should act? Why attack a weak, injured person right after he transmitted techniques to someone else?" At that moment, Meng Wu was quite surprised by the recent turn of events, and even more astonished to feel the powerful aura emanating from Tiao Xuan's hand, which was gradually suppressing his own spiritual energy. He was taken aback, wondering, wait a minute, didn't he just transmit techniques to Lin Haoran? How can his spiritual energy be surging like this? The golden aura from Tiao Xuan's hand became increasingly terrifying, quickly shattering Meng Wu's spiritual energy and sending him flying into the air, crashing down hard and landing painfully on the ground. The brown-haired disciple rushed over, panicking as he called for the elder. Meanwhile, after defeating Meng Wu, Tiao Xuan showed no interest in the defeated man and turned to walk inside. He casually flicked his fingers and told Jinuo, "Let's go back and make some chicken soup." The female disciple, filled with joy and admiration, obediently replied, "Yes." At that moment, Lin Haoran had also regained his senses and found his voice, raising his hands and looking at the two disciples of Meng Wu, shouting, "What are you waiting for?" The two understood and nodded, exchanging glances before responding, "Yeah." The brown-haired disciple took out a purple poison needle, his eyes filled with killing intent as he looked at Tiao Xuan, remembering the hidden weapons that Meng Wu had collected during their travels, which could dissolve in the air without scent or taste. He thought that no one had ever been able to block them. With that in mind, he swung his arm back to gain momentum before launching the attack. Meng Wu had specifically given him the needle, and if anything went wrong, he could use it against Tiao Xuan, ensuring that he wouldn't rise again. After digesting Meng Wu's instructions, he shot 3 poison needles forward, which flew swiftly towards Tiao Xuan's back. However, Tiao Xuan sensed the impending danger and slightly tilted his head to the side, easily dodging the 3 needles as they struck the wooden wall in front of him, embedding themselves and dissolving into a viscous liquid that flowed and emitted white smoke. Tiao Xuan looked at the 3 poison needles, his expression serious as he thought, indeed quite peculiar. Fortunately, after using the Wu Liang Jane, my 5 roots have strengthened, allowing me to sense the killing intent. Otherwise, I would have suffered today. While pondering, he glanced back. After their defeat, the 2 disciples of Meng Wu were furious, cursing inwardly. "You dodged, then take this." At the same time, both launched more needles at Tiao Xuan. He remained calm, hands behind his back, and called out, "Ji no Shanglang Jianjue, target to the right behind." The female disciple was slightly startled but quickly responded, "Understood." She summoned a green sword and swung it in a wide arc, blocking the incoming poison needles. The sound of continuous impacts echoed. Once the sword technique was complete, Jino looked back in shock, exclaiming as she saw the poison needles falling to the ground. At that moment, the system displayed a notification reward calculation. The host has transmitted the Shanglang Jian Yi to the disciple, receiving a reward multiplied by 3, obtaining the Ling Long Bao Jia, a mid-grade Earth-level item. Qiao Xuan looked at his little disciple's back, smiling in satisfaction, thinking, she truly is the Xiantian Jianti. I've only taught her the Shanglang Jianjue for a few days, and she has already comprehended the sword intent. The 2 disciples of Meng Wu were in disbelief, sweating profusely, astonished and panicking as they exclaimed, "What? How is this possible? Don't tell me she's at the pre-heaven realm. She shouldn't even be able to reach the spirit separation realm." Lin Haoran, sensing the situation was dire, crawled on the ground, trying to escape. Heavens, I must run, but Ji Nuo noticed his actions. She raised her sword, her eyes filled with hatred, saying, "Lin Haoran, you betrayed your master and destroyed your clan, and now you still plot to harm my master." Hearing her cold voice, Lin Haoran froze in fear. She shouted, "There's no forgiveness!" and gracefully leaped into the air, swinging her sword at him. He was terrified, scrambling forward while shouting, "Don't come near me!" In an instant, the sword energy sliced through Lin Haoran's body. Afterward, Jinor coldly retracted her bloodied sword. Lin Haoran lay face down on the ground, his face turned to the side in agony, blood spilling from his mouth as he mumbled, This can't be." At this moment, he deeply regretted returning with the intention of profit. After dealing with the traitor, Jinuo confidently approached the 3 disciples of Meng Wu. The brown-haired disciple panicked, saying, "Don't come any closer." Meng Wu, supported by the 2 disciples, trembled, but still tried to maintain his composure, saying, You've killed a fellow disciple. The sect master will not spare you." The blue-haired disciple, still furious, retorted, "Aren't the 2 of us supposed to be at the same level as a golden core? Why should we fear someone at the pre-heaven realm?" Meng Wu, annoyed by the disciple's reckless words, scolded, "You blind fool, can't you see who's behind her?" He was referring to Tiao Xuan, who stood calmly with his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes glowing red. Jinuo glared at them seriously, saying, "Master, don't dirty your hands. I will take care of them." But Tiao Xuan held her shoulder, saying, "Disciple, I still need to teach you something. Sometimes—" He paused deliberately, his face turning terrifying, his brows furrowed, his eyes radiating a fierce killing intent, his nose raised and his lips curled slightly as he said in a low voice, "Dying is easier than living." The 2 disciples of Meng Wu were terrified, their faces pale, trembling as they stammered, What do you want? Don't come any closer." They were so frightened that the tears in their eyes clearly reflected the image of Tiao Xuan, who appeared like a demon reaching out his hand, his voice filled with menace. "Now you know fear. It's too late." The scene shifted to Dy Feng, where amidst the lush green hills and steep cliffs stood a magnificent castle nestled within. Inside the main hall, cranes were leisurely strolling around the lotus pond, creating a picturesque scene. In the center, between 2 large lotus ponds, was a red carpet leading directly to the high platform of the Hongmeng sect's master. On the back wall and the elevated seat, intricate patterns of the bagua were carved. At this moment, Tiao Xuan and Meng Wu, one standing and one kneeling, were present on the red carpet. Tiao Xuan respectfully clasped his hands and reported, "Sect master, the situation is as follows. Meng Wu colluded with the traitor from our peak to cause trouble at our gate. To protect ourselves, we killed Lin Haoran and crippled the cultivation of 2 disciples. I believe you, as a principled leader, will not punish me." While Tiao Xuan was boldly accusing Meng Wu in front of the sect master, Meng Wu kept his head bowed, not daring to speak. Sitting on the high platform, Zhang He listened silently, his serious eyes glancing at the 2 figures below. After a moment, the sect master finally spoke. "Elder Tiao, the traitor, although he has not yet paid for his crimes with death, has repeatedly violated the sect's rules." Tiao Xuan showed a respectful attitude, clasping his hands and responding affirmatively. Tiao Xuan carefully listened to the teachings of the sect leader. Meng Wu had been trying to hold back and see how the sect leader would judge the situation, but seeing that things seemed to lean in favor of Tiao Xuan, he angrily raised his head, pointed at Tiao Xuan and shouted loudly, "Sect leader, how can you be so biased towards Tiao Xuan? He was fundamentally distorting right and wrong, speaking nonsense." He gritted his teeth and argued, "I brought my disciple sincerely to the door of Bai Feng, and you killed him, violating the sect's rules. You should expel him from the sect." Tiao Xuan raised an eyebrow at him and asked Bai Feng, "If you have taken Lin Haoran as your disciple, you must take responsibility for his life and death. Why did you bring him to my 7th peak when everything was fine?" He angrily threw a bunch of poison needles at him, showing no mercy, and continued. "Moreover, Bai Feng, what could be prepared in advance? Do you think the sect leader is a fool? Did your deception fail?" Seeing Tiao Xuan present solid evidence and speak sharply, Meng Wu was at a loss for words, sitting down on the ground, trembling and pointing weakly, protesting, I did not. You are talking nonsense." At this moment, Zhang He angrily slammed his hand down on the armrest of the chair and shouted, "Enough. It is rare for Elder Meng to have the heart to protect the sect's rules. I think it would be better to let Elder Meng take the initiative to cause trouble according to the sect rules, to self-discipline as an example. How about that? Let's hear the judgment." Meng Wu disagreed, kneeling down, desperately trying to find a way to defend himself. "Sect leader." Zhang He's face darkened, cutting him off. "This matter ends here. Elder Meng acted recklessly, punished with 3 months of salary and 1 month of confinement in the stone wall. To reflect, no more discussion." Tiao Xuan smiled with satisfaction, bowed his head, and clasped his hands, saying, "Sect leader, you are wise." At the same time, Two enforcers from Hongmeng Sect approached Meng Wu, gesturing towards the door. Elder Meng, please. At this point, he knew he could not change the sect leader's decision, so he fell silent in disappointment. While being taken away by the two enforcers, he glanced at Tiao Xuan, muttering to himself, Tiao Xuan, I cannot let this grudge go unpunished. Meanwhile, in the training room of the 7th peak, Ji Nuo was sitting cross-legged practicing her cultivation technique, her eyes tightly closed, concentrating her thoughts, her hands manipulating a golden energy ball, her body continuously radiating a bright red aura. Suddenly, Tiao Xuan opened the door and walked in, asking Ji Nuo, how is your comprehension? Hearing her master's voice, Ji Nuo was startled and opened her eyes, calling master. Then she hurriedly ran over, grabbing his arm, looking worriedly at his face, chattering like a little chick. Master, did the sect leader make things difficult for you this time? Ji Nuo was momentarily emotional. If the sect leader punishes me for dealing with the traitor, I Ji Nuo am willing to bear it alone, understanding the feelings of his female disciple. Tiao Xuan's expression softened, a generous smile appearing on his face as he said, Silly disciple, how could I let this matter fall on you? Rest assured with me here, no one can do anything to you. Hearing these words, for some reason, Ji Nuo's face turned red. Tiao Xuan held her shoulders and added, From now on, remember, do not refer to a small traitor. Even if it is the gods or emperors, whoever offends me, I will offend them back. Ji Nuo widened her eyes in surprise, looking at him, her heart filled with indescribable emotion. Tiao Xuan frowned and continued, Even if the sky falls, I will bear it for you. Upon hearing this, tears streamed down the cheeks of the little girl uncontrollably. She choked up and softly called, Master. Then she stepped back and knelt down. This action left Tiao Xuan in shock. He reached out with a worried tone. Child, what are you doing? He stepped forward to help his obedient disciple stand up, showing concern and saying, If there is anything, just say it. Ji Nuo sincerely replied, There is something I feel I should not hide from you, Master. She quickly said, Actually, my real name is Lin Ji, and I am the daughter of the head of the Lin family in the southwest. Hearing this, Tiao Xuan was taken aback and asked, Lin family in the southwest. Is that the famous martial arts family from ancient times in the southwest? He paused and wondered, But I don't know what happened a few years ago. In one night, they were exterminated. And Ji Nuo slowly recounted the incident from 10 years ago. 10 years ago, in the territory of the Lin family, a huge vein of spirit stone was discovered, rich in resources to the extent that it could create a powerful force like Hongmeng Sect overnight. My father was also the head of the Lin family, and at that time he ordered that this matter should not be spread outside, fearing it would lead to disaster. Unexpectedly, my uncle, a wolf in sheep's clothing, dissatisfied with my father's distribution, sold the information to Lei Yun's sect. He was determined not to let me become the head of the family, so he thought everyone should die. Later, Lei Yun's sect killed the entire Lin family. To seize the spirit mine, I was the only one left fortunate to survive under my father's protection. Later, while I was on the run, I encountered bandits, and all my money was robbed, leaving me with nothing, and I was sold. Ji Nuo still vividly remembers the image of herself being dragged away by a bandit, no different from a cheap slave girl. Then she recalled Tiao Xuan's gentle smile as he reached out to her, saying, Come with me. Ji Nuo emotionally exclaimed, Fortunately, I finally met my master, otherwise I wouldn't know where I would drift. Hearing Ji Nuo recount her story, Tiao Xuan could not hold back his emotions, tears welling up in his eyes. He raised his fist, sobbing, I never expected my disciple's background to be so tragic. Why didn't you tell me earlier? No wonder you hate betrayal. It's actually not that serious, he said excitedly, grabbing Ji Nuo's hand and pulling her along, urging, Come on, disciple, I will take you down the mountain. Ji Nuo, confused, asked, Down the mountain? Where to? Tiao Xuan calmly replied, Of course, if you have accepted me as your master, then we have a debt of gratitude to repay. He turned back smiling and saying, Isn't it just Lei Yun's sect? I will go down the mountain with you to take revenge myself. Ju Nao, with tears still in her eyes, choked up and called master in place of a deep thank you. She dove into his embrace, crying like a child. Master, I only wish for your safety for a lifetime. I am willing to accompany you for the rest of my life. Tiao Xuan patted the head of his female disciple, his eyes filled with affection, saying, "Don't say such polite words. From now on, our master-disciple relationship will soar to great heights with limitless prospects." After that, Tiao Xuan smiled and urged, "Then let's set off." Jinwo dried her tears and happily replied, "Okay." The two masters and disciples quietly flew away from the towering cliffs. Above them was a bright blue sky full of hope. The scene shifted to a forest outside Leiyun City, where the sunlight was gently resting on the treetops, looking like a soft, beautiful velvet carpet from afar. Inside the forest, near a large rock still stained with a few faint bloodstains, a young man and a young woman stood beside it, holding swords, bending over and panting. On the ground in front of them lay several corpses in various positions. Seeing a footstep approaching, the young man named Bai Lei Ri pointed his sword forward and said, "I already knew it was you. For wealth you pushed your own subordinates into death, wasting the strength of both of us. Only you could do such a thing." The girl holding the sword defensively beside him was Li Kuang. Facing them was the old man from Riyue Guimen, Zhang Yi. He was carrying a saber on his shoulder, praising, "No wonder you are the disciple that Zhu Xianzi brought. You have killed so many of my subordinates, the Kongzi Shuangjian is indeed famous. But that's all there is to it." He spoke with disdain, then suddenly flew forward to attack the young couple. After fighting with Zhang Yi's disciples, the two had already exhausted a lot of energy. Seeing him charge at them, they were extremely worried. Nevertheless, Bai Lei Ri firmly held his sword, glaring and cursing, "Damn it." Suddenly, from somewhere, a pink aura shot straight towards Zhang Yi's back. He was lucky to dodge it, but still lost his balance, falling backward onto the ground. The aura slammed into the rock in front of him. Zhang Yi angrily glared at the source of the aura, growling, "Who the hell is it?" Bai Lei Ri and Li Kuang were also startled, their souls almost leaving their bodies, when they saw the cracked stone and wondered, "Is that a foot?" A girl in pink shoes appeared from behind the dust, accompanied by a slurred voice. That person was Jinwo. On her two outstretched fingers, there was still a trace of energy swirling around. Next to her, Tiao Xuan waved a fan and smiled, saying, "Look, I told you earlier, you acted too soon. You were too hasty." Zhang Yi, sitting up, saw Jinwo approaching and teased, "Oh, so it's a little beauty." He stuck out his long tongue and licked the saber in his hand, continuing to speak lewdly. "You just ruined my good plan. How do you intend to compensate for that little beauty?" Jinwo angrily shouted, "You bastard, how dare you speak such filthy nonsense? Do you want to die?" At the same time, she swung her sword towards him, releasing an aura like a scythe. However, the sword in her hand was quickly knocked away by Zhang Yi's red energy. He laughed triumphantly. "Little beauty, didn't your master teach you not to show up recklessly if you lack strength?" Bai Lei Ri and Li Kuang were alarmed and shouted in unison, "Miss, be careful." Jinwo, undaunted, gathered energy on her two fingers, creating a small purple sword aura, and said sternly, "Master, I only learned to deal with scum like you." Just as Jinwo was about to finish her sentence, a purple light suddenly flashed behind Zhang Yi. The old man glanced back, not knowing what was happening, when Jinwo's voice rang out, "Never show mercy." As soon as she finished speaking, countless sword auras shot from the light toward Zhang Yi's back. He could not dodge in time and could only scream, "Ouch," before being defeated and falling to the ground. Due to the loud commotion, the birds perched on the trees were frightened and flew away. After checking the smoking corpse, Jinwo brought a bag to Tiao Xuan, reporting, "Master, this is his Can Kong bag." After looking through it, there were only some spirit stones and elixirs inside, nothing valuable. Tiao Xuan waved his hand and said, "You take it. Keep it." Bai Lei Ri and Li Kuang approached, bowed, and respectfully said, "Thank you both for your assistance. We are disciples of Zhu Xuan, elder from Hongmeng Sect. May I ask for your names? This is my disciple Lin Ji." Hearing this, Bai Lei Ri and Li Kuang both exclaimed in surprise, realizing it was Elder Tiao. Tiao Xuan waved his hand and said, "Let's skip the formalities." He then asked, "I am very curious, how did you end up in this desolate place entangled with the people of the Riyue men?" Bai Lei Ri explained calmly, "The Riyue men has always had enmity with the Hongmeng sect. Some of their cultivators even take pleasure in torturing the disciples of the Hongmeng sect. This dangerous situation arose because of this. Saying this, he took a box from his robe and gently opened it, saying, "This is a low-grade land, a 1,000-year-old Wu Exen cow, which is a rare herb from the 5 realms of Zhuxi, Ren Xuan, Di Tianxian, each realm having its own low, middle, and high-grade herbs." Inside the box was a transparent green herb, and its flowers sparkled, emitting golden auras looking very precious. Bai Lei Ri continued, "This is a good material for refining the Zhuje Dan. It's quite fortunate we found it." He then reflected, "For hundreds of years, although Wu Shentao is just a material for Zhuje Dan, its value is not low. It wasn't easy for us to find it, and unexpectedly, due to a lack of money, we were followed by Zhang Yi all the way here, being hunted down by him. To express my deep gratitude, Bai Lei Ri bowed his head, holding the box containing the precious herb in both hands and presenting it to Tiao Xuan respectfully, saying, "Elder Tiao, if you hadn't arrived in time, this 1,000-year-old Wu Exuan Chao would have been taken by the Ri Yue Gui men. Therefore, to repay your life-saving grace, I hope you will accept it." Tiao Xuan was surprised and asked, "You want this 1,000-year-old Wu Exuan Chao? Are you planning to refine Zhu Jisai Dan consuming? Zhu Jisai's Dan will significantly enhance your cultivation." "Why are you giving it to me?" Bai Lei Ri sincerely replied, "As our master taught us, we must repay kindness and avenge grievances. This is something that Elder Tiao deserves. Please accept it." Seeing the determined attitude of the young man, Tiao Xuan reluctantly accepted it and praised, "You truly are a disciple of Zhu Shi Mei. If that's the case, wait for me to refine the Zhu Jidan, and I will share some with you." Bai Lei Ri clasped his hands together and happily replied, "Thank you, Elder Tiao." Suddenly, Tiao Xuan glanced in a certain direction and said meaningfully, "But it's too early to thank me now, just in time to give a lesson to the 3 of you. In the future, when killing someone, you must pay attention to uprooting the weeds. You must eliminate them completely." After saying this, he raised his fan behind him and waved it strongly, causing a stream of gathered spiritual energy to take the form of a sword that shot straight out. Astonishing! Ji Nuo Bai Lei Ri and Li Kung Quan, who all looked towards Tiao Xuan. The sword energy sliced through a tree, causing it to fall and revealing the figures of 2 people hiding there. The man was bare-chested, standing with a chain wrapped around him like a shawl, while the woman squatted beside him, one shoulder carrying a large spiked mace. Seeing them, the 2 disciples of Zhu Xianzi were wide-eyed in shock. Bai Lei Ri anxiously asked, "When did they hide there?" The woman stood up slightly and disdainfully said, "It's just a first-level Jan Dan acting so exaggeratedly." After finishing her words, she laughed gleefully, her eyes radiating a pink killing intent. She was Bai Yan Zi at the 3rd level of Jian Dan, while the man was Q-Ung Yangzi at the 4th level of Jan Dan. He stuck out his tongue and arrogantly continued, "Moreover, you dare to kill my beloved disciple. Fortunately, we were nearby. Your death is coming." Tiao Xuan looked at the 2 arrogant individuals in front of him and said, "I have heard that the Ri Yue Gui men has the Heibai Wu Chang, 2 elder cultivators who can capture souls and take lives at will." He folded his fan back and calmly said, "It must be you 2 inside." He chuckled, having used a bit of a hidden technique before setting out, and indeed encountered 2 blind fools. Qiang Yangzi, unaware that he had met a powerful figure, arrogantly laughed and said, "If you know our reputation and are not afraid, I want to see what skills you have, little brat." After saying this, he waved his magical artifact, sending the chain flying straight towards Tiao Xuan. However, Tiao Xuan was quick and agile, merely tilting his body to easily avoid it. As a result, the chain struck a nearby tree, creating a large dent and causing it to smoke. He proudly introduced, "This chain of mine is forged from the blood essence of thousands of people. Even a nascent soul cultivator would turn to white bones upon contact. Enjoy it, little brat." He then continued to launch the chain to attack Tiao Xuan again. Under his control, the chain spiraled and rushed towards Tiao Xuan. As he leaned back, Tiao Xuan thought to himself, "What nonsense is this? As long as I don't let this chain touch me, I'll be fine." While he was leisurely dodging suddenly, Tiao Xuan was startled and glanced down. He saw that his legs were being wrapped by a blue spiritual energy containing many souls in the form of skeletons that were aggressively reaching out to grab his legs. It turned out that Bai Ynz was secretly playing tricks. She raised her spiked mace, laughing triumphantly. Miku, Tangbang forged from the original spirits of thousands of people, little brat, you won't be lonely when you enter there in the future. Tao Xuan was not the least bit frightened. Instead, he found it somewhat interesting. He praised you even know how to combine your efforts. Not bad. Bai Yinzi, eager for battle, pointed her weapon at him and shouted, Die. Although Tao Xuan was standing in the midst of the encirclement formed by the Ri Yuegui men and the Heibai Wu Chang, the chain coiled above his head and the souls from the Miku Tangbang continuously clung to his legs from below. However, Tao Xuan remained sharp, his divine weapon and spirit steady, with a calm mind showing no signs of worry. It was just a pity for Ji No and the two disciples of Zhu Xianzi, who seeing the encirclement were in a panic shouting, Master, be careful. At this moment, Tao Xuan finally broke into a dangerous smile, and he casually pointed his finger, creating a large circle in front of him, and instantly the sword energy shot forward at high speed. Bai Yinzi smugly shouted, Raise your hands and surrender. Meanwhile, Kuang Yangzi arrogantly laughed and mocked, Just a manifestation of spiritual energy wants to break our magical artifact. How naive. The golden spiritual energy carrying countless sword energies quickly pierced through the chain, heading straight for Kuang Yangzi, causing him to exclaim in shock, What? The spiritual sword pierced straight through his forehead, and the blood energy from the chain was released continuously. He could only let out a gasp before collapsing to the ground, witnessing this scene. Bai Yinzi turned pale, mumbling, How could his spiritual sword have such power? This is not good. Jinu noticed the woman trying to escape, and immediately shouted a warning, Master, there's another one trying to run away. Hearing Jinuo's shout, Tao Xuan also turned his head slightly, quickly looking away and shooting off like an arrow. The woman with a dazed expression muttered, The sword technique that kid used is very peculiar. It's just a low-grade artifact, but even in the hands of a nascent soul cultivator it shouldn't be able to exert such power. At that moment behind her, a sharp voice rang out, Want to run? Tao Xuan coldly replied, No one is getting away. At the same time he raised two fingers, gathering spiritual energy to create the Juejiao Shanglang Jianjue. Bai Yanzi, while fleeing, glanced back and saw the golden spiritual energy taking the form of a sword rushing through the air towards her, causing her to panic and curse. Damn it. With no other choice, she gritted her teeth and raised her Miku Tangbang, shouting, Block for me for a moment. Immediately the mace in her hand released bright blue souls. At this moment, a protective circle of spiritual formation appeared beneath her feet, surrounded by countless souls swirling like a tornado, to defend against the golden sword energy that was aimed directly at them. These souls tried to wrap around the sword energy to block it. In their hearts, they were excitedly whispering to each other, If we break this formation, we will be free. However, the Huijiao Shanglang Jianjue of Tao Xuan was not an ordinary technique. Its powerful spiritual energy not only had lethal force, but also acted as a beacon to awaken the small souls. After being enlightened, they no longer wanted to use their bodies to defend, but instead turned back to attack Bai Yinzi, causing her to scream in terror. What are you doing? Are you rebelling? They surrounded her and continuously bit and tore at her body, fresh blood oozing out. She cried out in pain, Let me go. But regardless of her desperate cries, the souls kept piling on more and more so densely that Bai Yinzi's figure was no longer visible. After a while, the space in the forest became clear again. The liberated souls began to disperse, soaring high into the sky, accompanied by Tao Xuan's incantation. Reincarnate. Bai Lei Ri and Li Kuang. Quan looked up, watching the souls flying away, astonished, thinking, The two great elders of the Ri Yuegui men were completely wiped out by Elder Tiao in just 2 moves, unless Elder Tiao has advanced to the nascent soul stage. Juno, with an extremely joyful expression, ran over holding the pile of loot she had just collected and exclaimed, Master, the treasures on those two are all here. Chao Shen pointed at the pile of items in Jino's hands, praising, Not bad, my disciple is becoming more and more skilled at collecting loot. He generously added, And you have the Kankong bag from Zhang Yi, take it all. Jino's eyes sparkled with joy as she replied, Thank you, Master. This action of Tiao Xuan left the two disciples of Zhu Xianzi wide-eyed in shock. Bai Lei Ri wondered in confusion. Did he just give everything to his disciple? Meanwhile, Li Kungquan enviously thought that is the entire accumulation of the two great elders of the Ri Yuegi men. Jinhuo checked the Can Kong bag and was astonished to see countless items inside, exclaiming emotionally, this, there must be at least tens of thousands of low-grade Ling Shi and so many elixirs. Master, how can I use so many by myself? Xiaoshen, unfazed, firmly said, It's for you. You must take good care of it. Then excitedly he connected to the gift-receiving system to see if he had obtained any treasures. The screen displayed the following information. Checking the items gifted by the host to the disciple. 68, 1720. Low-grade Ling Shi, 4,600 mid-grade Ling Shi. 36, second realm, Ning Yuan Dan. 16, third realm, Fei Huang Dan, 1,000-year-old Wu Shan, Xiao. 1, Can Kong, ring 100 mil with 3, 2, Can Kong bags, 50 mil with 3. All the rewards were announced. A few seconds later, 1/4 realm, Yang Shen Dan, 1, Can Kong ring 15,000 birik or 3. 500-year-old Wu X Un Kao, 2,000 supreme grade, Ling Shi Tiao Xuan, looked at the valuable rewards. He had just obtained feeling overjoyed and thought to himself, 2,000 supreme grade Ling Shi, which includes low, mid, high supreme and 4th grade. The average exchange rate between grades is 100 to 1, so I must have 20 billion low-grade Ling Shi, right? Qiao Xuan imagined himself lying on a mountain of low-grade Ling Shi and couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. A night of becoming rich, that's all. Suddenly Zhino hesitated and said, Master, I already have a better Can Kong ring. Then, with a blushing face, she happily asked for his opinion. Can I give these 2 Can Kong bags this time and 1 from Elder Wang to my senior brothers and sisters? Hearing Zhino's kind words, Li Kungquan blushed and was too shy to speak, while Bai Lei Ri scratched his head and waved his hands in embarrassment, saying, No, junior sister, that would make us feel awkward. Clearly, they were eager to accept, but still pretended to be polite, simply because they were too poor and had not bought daily necessities until today. Qiao Xuan patted his kind female disciple on the head and said, If you have given it to you, then it is yours to handle as you wish. All right, master allows it. Jinhuo joyfully smiled, her eyes sparkling, and she threw the 2 Can Kong bags towards her 2 new friends, smiling and saying, Everyone take them. They received the loot and were so happy they almost cried, thinking, Elder Tiao and junior sister are truly good people. They watched the figures of the master and disciple leave, feeling a mix of envy and regret. How annoying to admire such a master. If only we had joined the 7th peak from the beginning. The scene shifted to inside Leiyun City, where the 2 master and disciple Tiao Xuan walked side by side through the gate of the alchemy room. Upon entering, they saw the alchemy furnaces with many people sitting and refining smoke billowing out hazily. Zhino then curiously asked, Master, what are we doing here? Qiao Xuan glanced at his disciple and happily explained. Earlier, there was a 1,000-year-old Wu Exen Chao in the outskirts, just in time to refine Zhu Jade Dan for you to prevent it from losing its healing effect. We will refine this elixir first, then go find Lei Yun Tong. Nearby, a beautiful girl named Su Mu Han accidentally overheard their conversation and exclaimed in surprise, Oh Zhu Jade Dan. The girl gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, gazing at Qiao Xuan, and silently wondered, To refine Zhu Jade Dan, one must at least have the cultivation of the Jay and Dan stage. This young master looks so young. Is he already a Jay and Dan cultivator? Observing Qiao Xuan as he raised 2 fingers to gather energy to ignite an alchemy furnace, Su Mu Han felt a bit of admiration, thinking, I really can't judge a book by its cover. Just as Su Mu Han was thinking this, a loud crash echoed, and the furnace shattered into pieces, causing her to jump in shock as flames erupted wildly, filling the air with smoke. Both master and disciple were pushed back outside. Zhinuo, startled, shouted, Watch out! Zhino, covered in soot, knelt on the ground, pointing her fingers at each other, glancing at Tiao Xuan with suspicion, asking, Master, do you really know how to refine elixirs? Tiao Xuan blushed awkwardly, covering his mouth with the fan, trying to downplay it. I just haven't refined Zhu Jade Dan before. Looking at his pitiful state, no one would dare think he was a genius in the Jay and Dan stage who had never faced difficulties. The comical appearance of Tiao Xuan made Su Mu Han unable to hold back her laughter, closing her eyes and giggling. After that, she approached the two of them and offered young master, "If you are refining Zhuja Dan, I can lend my strength." Ji Nuo looked at the beautiful girl approaching and exclaimed, "Wow, sister, you are so beautiful." Tiao Xuan glanced at the unfamiliar girl and remarked, Su Mu. Han leisurely continued, "However, refining Zhuja Dan requires a large amount of spiritual energy. At that time, this step will still need you to take action, young master." The people in the alchemy room seemed to know very well the talent of this girl, and when they saw her offer to help, they began to chatter. "Is Toe Girl also teaching for free today? She is truly both beautiful and kind." Chao Shen looked at the girl in front of him with a bit of admiration, thinking this girl is so young, yet she is already a second-grade alchemist. After assessing her abilities, Tiao Xuan opened his mouth to request, "I would like to trouble you, and the payment will be double the usual value." Su Mu Han used her hand to channel spiritual energy, creating a green flame that enveloped the Wu Action cow, then lifted it into the air above an alchemy furnace. At this moment, a large green flame erupted from the furnace, engulfing the herb along with other medicinal materials. Su Mu Han skillfully pushed all the necessary ingredients inside and then closed the lid. Under Su Mu Han's hands, after a while, they condensed into Trukko pills, flying out and soaring around the room. With her graceful and skilled movements, Su Mu Han gently used a porcelain jar to collect them all, and said, "The pills are ready." Seeing the girl approach and hand him the elixir jar, Tiao Xuan said, "Thank you, miss." This was the payment for this time, but Su Mu Han smiled and declined. "No need. It's just a helping hand." Suddenly, the people in the alchemy room hurriedly left, chattering that, "The auction is starting. Hurry to the second floor. I heard there is a low-grade treasure sword this time. I wonder if I have the funds to buy it." This made Su Mu Han also feel anxious. She turned to Tiao Xuan's group and said, "I will go ahead. No need for payment." He watched the hurried figures leave, pondering an auction. There is a low-grade treasure sword. Isn't Jinuo just in need of a handy weapon? Moreover, there will surely be many treasures at the auction, buying them all to gift to my disciple. Wouldn't that be a great deal? After calculating everything, Tiao Xuan tapped the fan on his palm and said, "Let's go." "Good. Disciple, we will go see the auction." Jinuo, excited as it was, her first time seeing such a lively scene, eagerly replied, "Okay." The scene shifted to the second floor of Tian Jieslao, where the auction area was built in an oval shape like a multi-tiered stadium. In the center below was a rectangular platform, and the auctioneer stood there holding items and introducing, "This is Tian Luo, beyond made from 1,000-year-old iron wood. Pouring spiritual energy or embedding spirit stones will increase its damage significantly, and its grade can reach the low-grade level. Starting price is 30,000 low-grade Lingxi." As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Nuo jumped up excitedly, raising her number 6 board. "To bid, I bid 100,000. After several unsuccessful bids, an angry customer cursed, "Damn it, it's those two again." Another person sighed. "Since the beginning, they haven't stopped once. They have bid on over a dozen treasures." A young master also lamented, "Every time they bid, the price is sky-high. We can't keep up, they are so wealthy." Su Mu Han, nearby, also sighed in disappointment, casting a regretful glance at the two disciples. They didn't know what to do. Below, the auctioneer pointed to an item shaped like 2 large red flowers on a pedestal, introducing the next auction item. "This is Rong X Ran Huolian, a high-grade earth treasure. After inspecting the quality of this Rong X Sun Huolian, it is relatively outstanding, so the starting price is $1,000 low-grade Lingxi." Su Mu Han's face showed tension as she tightly held her bidding board, silently thinking, "This time I must get the wrong Exun Huolian." But before she could raise her board, Ji Nuo had already raised hers loudly, declaring, "I bid $2,000. This left Su Mu Han stunned, causing her to drop her bidding board, tears streaming down her face. The auctioneer asked again, 2,000 for the first time. The other customers helplessly said they couldn't keep up and made way for the millionaire. After no one else bid higher, he struck the gavel, declaring, "So 2,000 it is." Chao Xuan stroked his chin with one hand and held his purse with the other, feeling a sense of elation, exclaiming, "Ah, this feeling of being poor with only this money is truly—" Ji Nuo, hearing this, also felt a bit dry in her throat, looking at her master. The auctioneer presented the item placed on the table in front of Ji Nuo, saying, "Congratulations, you have successfully bid for the wrong X-Sun Huolian." Ji Nuo looked closely at the item, unable to help but exclaim, "Wow, it's beautiful." Su Mu Han glanced at Tiao Xuan with a sad expression, wondering if the two masters really wanted to bid on all the treasures. She bit her lip, thinking, if I go and ask them to give me the wrong Exen Huolian, would they agree? Su Mu Han reluctantly approached the two of them and called out. Young Master Ji Nuo recognized the beautiful girl from earlier and exclaimed, "Aren't you the alchemist's sister from before?" Su Mu Han, disregarding her dignity, knelt down, bowing her head to the ground, pleading, "Young Master, I am Su Mu Han. My father is a cultivator who has gone mad and urgently needs the Huolian to save his life. I beg you to sell this Huolian to me." After explaining her situation, she humbled herself further, adding, "I am willing to be your servant to repay your kindness." Hearing the difficult circumstances and the sincere attitude of Su Mu Han, Ji Nuo couldn't help but hesitate, and said to Tiao Xuan, "Master." Tiao Xuan looked at Ji Nuo with a smile and said, "Good disciple, I will gift this Huolian to you. How you choose to handle it is up to your heart." As soon as Tiao Xuan finished speaking, a chime rang in his mind and the system announced, "Checking the wrong examni. Huolian, gifted by the host to the disciple, a first-grade wrong examen Huolian. The reward is 5 times the value, obtaining a 5th-grade wrong examen Huolian." After receiving her master's approval, Ji Nuo joyfully said, "If that's the case." Suddenly a voice interrupted, "Wait." At the same time, a stream of sharp energy from a whip shot towards her. Fortunately, she caught sight of it and quickly turned around, using her Kung Tuan sword to slash out a wave of sword energy deflecting the whip. Ji Nuo glared angrily and asked, "Who is it?" The auction participants were also in an uproar, and one of the henchmen looked at Ji Nuo with a sneer, calling her this commoner. He pointed at a young master sitting next to a beautiful blonde woman, arrogantly saying, "My young master bids $3,000 for your Huolian, a customer from afar." Hearing this was stunned and exclaimed, 3 million. That's beyond the value of a human-grade spirit medicine. The arrogant young master was none other than Wang Ying, the son of the city lord of Lei Yun City. He raised his hand confidently, speaking arrogantly. "It's just 300,000. For this beautiful Su Xiaoshu, what does that amount to?" Su Mu Han stood up, looking up at Wang Ying, her expression changing as she whispered, "It's him." His attitude made Tiao Xuan snort in disdain. The nearby guests, who were not fond of Wang Ying's arrogant nature, whispered among themselves, "The young master is here to disturb Su Xiaoshu again. It's truly outrageous. Ever since Tuko Nuong inherited the position of head of the Su family, this young master has been pestering her non-stop." One of Wang Ying's subordinates pointed at Tiao Xuan and arrogantly said, "This commoner over there, don't you hear? My young master wants the wrong Escan Huolian, so why don't you hurry up and offer it with both hands?" Chao Xuan calmly stood up, glancing at him without saying a word. Ji Nuo, feeling agitated, pointed at him defiantly. "Just because you say to sell it, does that mean we have to dream on, we won't sell?" Su Mu Han anxiously rushed over to advise, "Don't provoke him, miss. You absolutely must not offend this person." Chao Xuan, who had been curious all this time, took the opportunity to ask, "It seems you have some entanglement with this person." Su Mu Han turned her face away, avoiding his gaze, and hesitantly replied, "Ah." Then she continued, "This person is the son of the city lord of Lei Yun City, a local tyrant. He once came to propose to me, but I did not agree. After that, he kept bothering me everywhere." After explaining, Su Mu Han approached Tiao Xuan and placed a small pouch in his hand, her eyes reflecting sadness as she said, "I apologize for causing trouble for you two. This 50,000 ling shi is my apology to you. I will leave immediately." Chao Xuan watched Su Mu Han's retreating figure with interest and smiled slightly. Thinking to ask for medicine for her father and still be able to do this, encountering a crisis without losing composure, and at such a young age, she is already a second-grade alchemist. She is indeed a disciple worth teaching. He raised his voice, calling out to Su Mu, "Han, stop! This wrong Ixenhuolian is a gift for you. I can also deal with this young master, but there is one condition." Su Mu Han did not turn around, her heart racing as she wondered what the condition was. Chao Xuan opened his fan and slowly said, "The condition is to take me as your master." Upon hearing this, Su Mu Han turned around, unable to contain her excitement, her eyes glistening with tears of joy as she immediately replied, "I am willing, as long as I can save my father. I am willing." Immediately after, she knelt on the ground, bowing her head in respect, asking to be accepted as a disciple. Tiao Xuan also stepped forward, kneeling in front of Su Mu Han, helping her up while saying, "Good disciple, from now on, you will be my second direct disciple. Now please stand up." As soon as he finished speaking, the system displayed a notification, "Congratulations to the host for successfully accepting a disciple. The disciple has an alchemical talent of human grade, increasing the success rate of alchemy by 30%. The reward is doubled. The host has obtained an alchemical talent of earth grade, increasing the success rate of alchemy by 70%. The system also digitized the information of the disciple Su Mu Han: identity second direct disciple, comprehension 60, aptitude 50. Alchemical talent human grade can enhance the conditions for improving third grade elixirs. Tiao Xuan read the information on the screen and calculated an alchemical talent of earth grade. But unfortunately, her aptitude and comprehension are somewhat average. It seems I will have to guide her through the path of teaching.